Men of Iron, Chapter 12. Thus it was that Miles, with an eye to open war with the bachelors, gathered a following to his support. It was some little while before matters were brought to a crisis, a week or 10 days. Perhaps even Miles had no great desire to hasten matters. He knew that whenever war was declared, he himself would have to bear the brunt of the battle, and even the bravest man hesitates before deliberately thrusting himself into a fight. One morning Miles and Guskin and Wilkes sat under the shade of 2 trees, between which was a board nailed to the trunks, making a rude bench. Always a favorite lounging place for the lads in idle moments. Miles was polishing his bassinet with lard and wood ashes, rubbing the metal with a piece of leather and wiping it clean with a fustian rag. The other 2 had just been relieved from household duty, lay at length idly and looking on. Just then one of the smaller pages, a boy of 12 or 13, by name Robin Inglesby, crossed the court. He had been crying. His face was red and blubbered, and his body was still shaken with convulsive sniffs. Miles looked up. "Come hither, Robin," he called from where he sat. "What is it?" The little fellow came slowly up to where the 3 rested in the shade. "Mowbray beat me with a strap," said he, rubbing his sleeve across his eyes and catching his breath at the memory. "Beat you, did you say?" said Miles, drawing his brows together. "Why did he beat you?" "Because," said Robin, "I tarried overlong in fetching a pot of beer from the buttery for him and Wyatt." Then, with a boy's sudden and easy quickness in forgetting past troubles, "Tell me, Falworth," said he, "when will ye give me that knife ye promised me, the one whose blade ye broke yesterday?" "I know not," said Miles bluntly, vexed that the boy did not take the disgrace of his beating more to heart. "Sometime soon, mayhap. I think you should think more of your beating than of a broken knife. Now get ye to your business." The youngster lingered for a moment or 2, watching Miles at his work. "What is that on the leather scrap, Falworth?" said he curiously. "Lard and ashes," said Miles testily. "Get thee gone, I say, or I'll crack your head for you." And he picked up a block of wood with a threatening gesture. The youngster made a hideous grimace and then scurried away, ducking his head, lest in spite of Miles' well-known good nature, the block should come whizzing after him. "Hear ye that now?" cried Miles, flinging down the block again and turning to his 2 friends. "Beaten with straps because he would not fetch and carry quick enough to please the haste of these bachelors. Oh, this passes patience, and I, for one, will bear it no longer." "Nay, Miles," said Guskin soothingly, "the little imp is as lazy as a dormouse and as mischievous as a monkey. I'll warrant the hiding was his due, and that more of the like would do him good." "Why, how ye do talk, Francis," said Miles, turning upon him indignantly. "Ye know that ye like to see the boy beaten no more than I." Then, after a pause, "How many, think ye muster of our company of the Rose today?" Miles looked doubtfully at Guskin. "There be only 17 of us here now," said he at last. "Benton and Lamburn are away to Ruby Castle with Lord George, and will not be back till Saturday next, and Wat Newton is in the infirmary." 17 be enough," said Miles grimly. "Let us get together this afternoon, such as may, in the Brutus Tower. For I, as I did say, will no longer suffer these vile bachelors." Guskin and Wilkes exchanged looks, and then the former blew a long whistle. So that afternoon a gloomy set of young faces were gathered together in the Eyrie, the Knights of the Rose, and all knew why they were assembled. The talk which followed was conducted mostly by Miles. He addressed the others with a straightforward verve and earnestness, but the response was only half-hearted, and when at last, heaving heat himself up with his own fire, he sat down, puffing out his red cheeks and glaring round. A space of silence followed, the lads looking doubtfully at one another. Miles felt the chill of their silence strike coldly on his enthusiasm, and it vexed him. "What would ye do, Falworth?" said one of the knights at last. "Would ye have us open a quarrel with the bachelors?" "Nay," said Miles gruffly. "I had thought that ye would all lend me a hand in a pitched battle, but now I see that ye have no stomach for that. Nevertheless, I tell ye plainly, I will not submit longer to the bachelors. So now I will ask ye not to take any venture upon yourselves, but only this, that ye will stand by me when I do my fighting, and not let 5 or 7 of them fall upon me at once." "There is Walter Blunt. He is exceedingly strong," said one of the others after a time of silence. "He could conquer any 2 of us." "Nay," said Miles, "ye do fear him too greatly. I tell ye, I fear not to stand up to try battle with them, and will do so too if they need arise. Only say ye that ye will stand by my back." "Marry," said Guskin quaintly, "if you'll dare take the heavy end upon thee, I for one am willing to stand by and see that ye have your fill of fighting." "I too will stand by you, Myles," said Wilkes. "And I, and I, and I," said others, chiming in. Those who would have held back were carried along by the stream, and so it was settled that if the need should arise for Myles to do a bit of fighting, the others should stand by to see that he had fair play. "When think ye that you will take your stand against them, Myles?" said Wilkes. Myles hesitated a moment. "Tomorrow," he said grimly. Several of the lads whistled softly. Guskin was prepared for an early opening of the war, but perhaps not for such an early opening as this. "By Our Lady, Myles, ye are hungry for brawling," said he.